Some secrets, once opened, cannot be closed again. Some doors, once crossed, lead only to ruin. In every family lies an unspoken rule. There are loves forbidden, desires unspeakable, and lines that must never be crossed. Yet in the quiet corners of a respectable Abuja home, one decision, one stolen glance, would set fire to everything sacred. The Okafor family lived in Maitama, Abuja, in a large cream-painted duplex with tall palm trees guarding the gates. Inside, life moved with the ordered rhythm of wealth and tradition. Chief Okafor was a respected businessman, his wife a church elder, and their 3 children, Amara, Ngozi, and Chijioke, were raised in privilege and discipline. But that summer was different. That summer, Kenechukwu arrived. Kene was their cousin from the UK. Tall, with skin kissed by both African sun and London chill, he carried himself differently. His accent rolled smooth and polished. His clothes were fitted, stylish yet simple. His laugh carried confidence, the kind that drew attention in a room before he even spoke. The moment he stepped through the gates, dragging his sleek suitcase, the family house felt changed. Amara, the eldest daughter, noticed first. At 22, she had always been the dutiful child, balancing law school with church activities and the expectations of being the firstborn daughter. She was serious, careful, and rarely reckless. But when her eyes first met Kene's, something stirred inside her. A curiosity that felt both dangerous and exciting. He hugged everyone warmly, kissed Auntie's cheek, shook Uncle's hand, teased Chijioke about his video games, and called Ngozi little sis. But when he turned to Amara, his smile lingered. "Amara," he said, in that smooth British accent, "I've heard a lot about you." Her heart betrayed her, skipped, and in that moment, she knew. This summer would not be ordinary. First, it was innocent. Kene had come to Nigeria to reconnect with his roots. As he explained over the first dinner, he asked questions about family traditions, about old stories. He laughed when Amara scolded him for forgetting Igbo proverbs. He shared tales about London nightlife, about opportunities, about the women who chased him abroad. Amara pretended to be disinterested, but she listened closely. His world felt larger, richer, freer than anything she knew. The others adored him. Chief Okafor treated him like the son he never had abroad. Their mother doted on him, asking about his meals, his health. Ngozi giggled at every joke, and Chijioke followed him everywhere. But it was Amara who felt his eyes on her a little too long during dinner. It was Amara who caught the subtle brush of his hand when they passed dishes across the table. The first crack in her resistance came one night when Nipa struck, and the house fell into darkness. The generator had failed to start, and everyone scattered in irritation. Ngozi to her room with a torchlight, Chijioke asleep on the couch, their parents upstairs complaining. Amara stepped outside to the veranda to catch a breeze. Kene joined her. The night was thick and silent, broken only by distant car horns from the highway. The moonlight spilled over him, making his features sharp, his skin glowing against the shadows. "You're quiet tonight," he said. "I'm always quiet," she replied, avoiding his gaze. "But not with me," he said, softer this time. She glanced at him then, and regretted it instantly. His eyes held hers with a knowing boldness. Something unspoken passed between them. The air grew heavy. She looked away quickly, but it was too late. A line had been crossed in silence. From that night, their connection deepened in dangerous ways. They started talking late into the night after the others slept. Sometimes in the living room, sometimes in the kitchen while pretending to get water. He told her about the loneliness of life abroad, how people assumed Nigerians there were all the same. She told him about the pressure of being the good daughter, the one who couldn't make mistakes. He listened with an attentiveness no one else gave her. He made her laugh until her stomach hurt. He teased her in ways that felt both safe and thrilling. And when his hand brushed hers again, this time she didn't pull away. The kiss happened on a rainy evening. The sky cracked open with thunder, the rain drumming hard against the roof. Amara had been reading in the living room when Kene came down, barefoot, his t-shirt clinging slightly from the humidity. He sat beside her, too close. "You always read," he teased. "Do you ever just live?" She rolled her eyes. "Books are safer than people." "Safe is boring," he whispered. And before she could respond, his lips touched hers. It was brief, too brief, but it carried fire. A fire that once lit could not be put out. Amara gasped, pulling back. "Kene, this is wrong." "Is it?" he asked, his voice low, steady. "Or is it just forbidden?" Her heart pounded so hard she thought it would betray her. She wanted to run, but her body stayed. She wanted to resist, but her lips ached for more. And when he kissed her again, she let him. From then on, the house became both heaven and hell. Every shared glance was a secret. Every accidental touch was intentional. Every corner of the house became dangerous ground, hallways, the veranda, even the staircase when no one was looking. At dinner, she forced herself to look normal, but under the table, his knee brushed hers. At church on Sunday, she sang hymns beside him, her voice trembling with guilt. The thrill was intoxicating, but the risk was suffocating. They both knew the truth. If anyone found out, it would destroy everything. The first close call came one afternoon when Ngozi walked into the kitchen unexpectedly. Amara and Kene had been standing too close, whispering, their laughter soft. The moment Ngozi entered, Amara jumped back, pretending to reach for a glass of water. Ngozi frowned, her eyes darting between them, suspicion flickering. Kene covered smoothly, smiling. "Your sister was just telling me how you always sneak extra meat during dinner. I'll be watching you now." Ngozi laughed, distracted, but Amara's heart nearly stopped. It was a reminder. They were playing with fire, yet neither could stop. The nights grew bolder, the kisses deeper, the touches more daring. What started as stolen moments became a hidden romance pulsing inside the walls of the Okafor home. Amara knew she was betraying her family, her faith, her very self, but she couldn't let go. For the first time in her life, she felt alive, seen, desired beyond expectation. And Kene whispered words she both feared and craved. "You're the only reason I don't regret coming here. You make me feel like I belong." How could she resist that? But every secret has a witness. And one night, as the house slept, Amara didn't realize a pair of eyes had seen them in the corridor. Hidden, silent, watching. Eyes that would turn their dangerous love into a ticking bomb. When love is hidden, it rots in the shadows. What begins as fire soon turns to smoke. Thick, suffocating, impossible to contain. In the Okafor home, passion was already dancing dangerously behind closed doors. But secrets don't stay secret forever. And the first to discover theirs wasn't apparent. It was blood. The days that followed their first kiss became a blur of stolen moments and hushed breaths. To everyone else, Amara was still the dutiful daughter, rising early for prayers, helping Mama in the kitchen, and studying her law books. But beneath that polished surface, her veins burned with a fever she couldn't cure. Every time Kene brushed past her in the hallway, every whisper in the living room after midnight, every kiss pressed against a doorframe when no one was watching, each moment drew her deeper into a maze she could no longer escape. For Kene, Nigeria had stopped being a holiday. It became a stage for something he hadn't expected. Forbidden love. He was reckless now, daring in ways that made Amara's heart tremble. He'd slide his hand along hers while the family watched TV. He'd whisper dirty promises in her ear while Mama called from the kitchen. And though she told herself it was wrong, Amara couldn't resist. The risk itself made her feel alive. But danger was closer than they realized. Ngozi was 17, sharp-eyed and curious. Unlike her elder sister, she wasn't weighed down by responsibility. She noticed things others ignored. And lately, she had begun to notice them. It started with small suspicions. The way Amara blushed when Kene teased her. The sudden silence whenever she entered a room. The long glances exchanged across the dining table. One evening, her suspicions were confirmed. She had gone downstairs for a glass of water. The house was dark, except for the faint light from the kitchen. As she approached, voices hushed abruptly. Peering in, she froze. There, pressed against the counter, was her sister, Amara. And in front of her, kissing her hungrily, was Kene. Ngozi's eyes widened. Her breath caught. For a moment, she thought she'd scream. But she didn't. She stepped back silently, retreating up the stairs. Her heart pounded as she lay in bed. Shock gave way to something else, power. The next morning, at breakfast, she said nothing. But her eyes lingered on Amara with quiet knowing. Amara felt it immediately, a prickle at the back of her neck. She glanced at her sister and saw it. The smirk, the deliberate look. Ngozi knew. Panic surged in her chest, but she forced herself to stay calm. She avoided Kene's eyes, her appetite gone. Later that day, when she entered her room, Ngozi was already there, sitting casually on her bed. "You and Kene," Ngozi said, her tone light but cutting. "How long has it been?" Amara froze. "Ngozi, listen. Relax. I'm not going to tell Mom and Dad." Ngozi interrupted, her smile sharp. "Not yet." Fear tangled with anger. "What do you mean?" Ngozi leaned back, folding her arms. "I mean I won't expose you, if you make it worth my while." And just like that, the blackmail began. First, it was simple. Ngozi demanded small things. Money from Amara's purse, covering her chores, excuses when she came home late. But power is addictive. Soon, her demands grew bolder. She wanted Kene to buy her things, new clothes, perfume, even a phone. She wanted Amara to lie for her whenever she wanted freedom. "If you don't," she'd whisper, her eyes glittering, "I'll tell Daddy everything." Amara lived in constant fear. Each knock on the door, each call from her parents sent her stomach twisting. Kene tried to calm her. "She's just a kid," he said. "She won't do anything." But Ngozi was no child. She was cunning. She held their secret like a loaded gun. And she enjoyed pulling the trigger, just enough to keep them in line. The pressure took its toll. Their once thrilling romance became laced with dread. Every stolen kiss carried the risk of exposure. Every whispered word had to be measured. Amara began to resent her sister, but more than that, she resented herself. Guilt gnawed at her daily. Guilt for betraying her family, for sinning against her faith, for dragging Kene into this dark game. And yet, she couldn't stop. Even as the walls closed in, her heart betrayed her. She still craved him, his touch, his voice, his presence. Some nights, after Ngozi had gone to bed, they'd meet secretly in the guest room. The danger only made their love wilder, more desperate. It was no longer just a romance. It was an addiction. But addiction always demands a price. One Saturday evening, the family prepared for a large gathering. Relatives were coming, the house buzzing with activity. In the chaos, Amara sneaked away to Kene's room. They kissed fiercely, her hands trembling as though she knew the risk was unbearable. And that's when the door opened. Ngozi stood there, arms crossed, her eyes glittering with triumph. "You two never learn," she said coldly. Amara froze. Kene stepped back, his face pale. "Please, Ngozi," Amara whispered. "Not today. Please." Ngozi tilted her head, her smile cruel. "Then you'll do exactly what I say. From now on, you belong to me. Both of you." Her words sank like knives. This wasn't just blackmail anymore. This was control. The evening went on, the house filled with laughter and chatter. But for Amara and Kene, it was unbearable. Every time Ngozi glanced at them across the room, they felt the leash tighten. What had begun as desire was now chains. And in the shadows of the Okafor home, a new war had begun. Not just of love, but of power, betrayal, and fear. A war that could only end in destruction. Secrets are like cracks in glass. They spread slowly at first, then all at once. What begins as whispers in the dark ends in screams at the dinner table. And in the Okafor home, one forbidden love was about to rip the family apart, leaving scars no time could heal. The weeks after Ngozi's discovery turned Amara's life into a prison. Every day, she moved like a puppet, strings pulled by her younger sister. Ngozi demanded money, favors, lies, and Amara gave them all, too afraid of the gun her sister carried in silence. Kene tried to remain calm, telling Amara not to let a teenager control her. But deep down, he too felt the weight of Ngozi's power. They were prisoners of their own choices, living in constant fear of exposure. And then came the night everything unraveled. It was a Sunday evening. The family had just returned from church, and Mama insisted on a family dinner. Everyone together, no excuses. The table was heavy with steaming jollof rice, grilled chicken, fried plantains. The laughter of cousins and uncles filled the room. But beneath the cheer, Amara was restless. Her eyes kept darting toward Ngozi, who sat smugly at the other end of the table, her gaze sharp and knowing. Then, as the plates were being cleared, the moment came. Ngozi dropped her fork deliberately, leaned forward, and said loudly, "Daddy, do you know what Amara and Kene have been doing in this house?" The words cut through the air like a blade. The room fell silent. Amara's blood froze. Kene choked on his drink, coughing violently. Mama frowned, her hand halfway to her chest. Chief Okafor's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about, Ngozi?" he asked, his voice calm but dangerous. Ngozi's smile widened. "They've been sneaking around. At night, kissing, doing things cousins shouldn't do." A collective gasp rippled across the table. Amara's world shattered. "MBA, it's not true," she blurted, her voice trembling. "She's lying." But her protest sounded weak, hollow against Ngozi's confident tone. Ngozi leaned back in her chair, folding her arms. "Then let them deny it to your face, Daddy. Look them in the eye and ask." All eyes turned to Amara and Kene. Kene tried to speak, but his words caught in his throat. His silence was damning. Amara broke. Tears filled her eyes. Her lips trembled. She wanted to scream, to confess, to beg for forgiveness. But the weight of judgment crushed her voice. Her father slammed his fist on the table, the plates rattling. "Chinik, under my roof, my own daughter and my brother's son." Mama clutched her chest, shaking her head in disbelief. "Amara, is this true? Tell me it's not true." But Amara could not speak. Her silence was the loudest confession of all. The chaos that followed was a storm of voices. Relatives shouted. Some cursed. Some wept. Chief Okafor ordered Kene to pack his things immediately. Mama wailed, pacing the dining room, calling on God for mercy. Chijioke stared in shock, too young to fully understand but old enough to sense the gravity of betrayal. And Amara sat frozen, her tears falling silently, her heart splitting with shame. Kene tried to defend them, his voice shaking. "We didn't mean for it to happen. We fell for each other." But his words only added fuel to the fire. "Shut your mouth," Chief thundered. "Fell for each other? She is your cousin. Do you know the shame you have brought on this family? The disgrace." His voice broke, raw with fury and heartbreak. "Get out of my house before I lose my temper." That night, Kene was thrown out, his suitcase tossed into the car. His face pale, his eyes hollow. He looked at Amara one last time before leaving, a look filled with regret and love and despair. But there were no words left between them. Amara was left behind to face the storm alone. Her father would not speak to her. Her mother prayed endlessly, her sobs echoing through the house. Relatives whispered, their stares heavy with disappointment. Even Chijioke avoided her, confused and hurt. And Ngozi walked around with triumph in her eyes. She had won. But power is a dangerous thing, and triumph does not last forever. Days passed. The house was heavy with silence. Amara locked herself in her room, drowning in guilt. Her phone buzzed with messages from Kene. Please, apologies, promises. But she couldn't bring herself to reply. She had destroyed everything. Her family's trust, her sisterhood, her own sense of self. It all felt like a nightmare she couldn't wake from. Until one evening, she overheard voices. Ngozi was in the living room, speaking on the phone, laughing, boasting. Yes, I told them. Of course I told them. Now Amara has nothing. Serves her right. She thought she could keep secrets from me. Amara's chest tightened. The realization cut deep. Ngozi hadn't exposed her out of morality. She hadn't done it to protect the family. She had done it out of spite, out of jealousy, out of hunger for power. And suddenly, the weight of shame shifted. Amara confronted her sister that night. "You destroyed me," she said, her voice raw. "You destroyed us all." Ngozi smirked. "You destroyed yourself, Amara. I just made sure everyone saw it." Amara's tears dried into something else. Anger. Fury. Not at Kene, not even at herself, but at the sister who had turned her mistake into a weapon. The fight was loud, brutal. Shouts echoing down the hallway, accusations thrown like daggers. Mama rushed in to separate them, weeping that her daughters had turned into enemies. But the damage was done. The family was fractured. The trust was gone. The fallout spread beyond their home. Word leaked to relatives, to neighbors, even to the church. Whispers followed the Okafors everywhere. Chief Okafor became withdrawn, humiliated before his peers. Mama aged years and weeks. Her once vibrant presence dimmed. Ngozi basked in her temporary victory, but the family's bitterness toward her grew. And Amara carried the heaviest burden. Her romance was gone. Her family was broken. Her reputation was in ruins. She walked through the house like a ghost, haunted by what could have been, what should never have been. Weeks later, Kene left Nigeria quietly. He didn't call again. He didn't write. His absence was a wound Amara felt every day. One evening, she stood alone on the veranda where it had all begun. The night Nipa struck, the night he first told her she wasn't always quiet with him. She closed her eyes, remembering the warmth of his lips, the thrill of their forbidden love. And then she remembered the screams at the dinner table, the tears in her mother's eyes, the fury in her father's voice. Desire had given her wings, but guilt had cut them off, and she was left broken on the ground. Some stories don't end with forgiveness. Some sins don't fade with time. The affair between Amara and Kene was more than a mistake. It was a storm that tore through a family, leaving ruins in its wake. And though the house stood tall in Maitama, its walls would forever carry the whispers of a secret that destroyed them from within.